Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World, TRPG. If you haven't seen part 1 of my review featuring this role-playing game, based on this isekai comedy series, please check out the playlist in the description below. And before we begin, I want to thank the talented Naomi for letting me use her Spanish cover of the second Konosuba opening. If you want to see her video, please check out the link in the description below. This time we are going to talk about some basic concepts of the game. After the replay, you have a section explaining the very basics of the tabletop RPG hobby. That is, if you have never played a role-playing game before, this is going to get you into the hobby. There's fundamental information such as what is a tabletop role-playing game. A tabletop RPG is a game where the players collaborate with one another to collectively tell a fun and exciting story. Usually one of those players is the game master, or the GM, who controls the world and the antagonists of the story. The game master prepares the scenario to play, and the other players each take control of a character who exists in the game world. These are called player characters, or PCs. The basic flow of a tabletop scenario is that the game master presents a situation, some challenges, and the players decide what to do through their characters. They roleplay as these personalities within the fictional world, and the game master adjudicates the actions, the results, and sometimes the game master will ask for checks. By rolling dice, you will see if the player characters are successful at attempting different things. Besides that, the golden rule of the game is that all of the game's participants work together to create a single story. The fun is all in the process of creating that shared narrative and in enjoying what the group has crafted. This is the most important rule of the game, the golden rule. Everyone should endeavor to create an experience that is enjoyable for all involved. There's also information on the authority of the game master, how to arbitrate or handle rules, rulings, how to handle the results of different actions, what to do in case you make a mistake, and what the goal of the session is. The act of playing a tabletop role-playing game, or gathering people together for it, is called a session. The session is meant to be a fully enjoyable time for everyone involved. The ultimate goal of a session is to make all of the participants involved to be excited about playing again, about participating in another session. Sure, there will be times where the player characters are defeated, perhaps they even die. But because this is Konosuba, ridiculous and unexpected situations are expected of each adventure. And besides, if you were always winning against adversity, there would be no fun, no challenge in that. So what do you need to play Konosuba, the tabletop role-playing game? You need players, of course. At the very least, one game master and 3 player characters. Or you could play with up to 5 player characters. If you know how to use Game Master emulators, different tools and processes to play solo role-playing games, you could also play with a single person. Or if you want to play without a Game Master in a cooperative way, you could also attempt that. If you have never played a solo or co-op role-playing game before, I'm going to put a few links in the description below. I recommend that you check them out, they could be helpful. To play this role-playing game, you also need a handful of 6-sided dice. Between 3 to 5 dice per participant is enough. You also need writing tools, such as pencils, paper, etc. And obviously you need the rulebook, and copies of the player character sheets, and the session sheet, the game master sheet, which sadly Yen Press has not made available in their website as free digital downloads. I hope they correct that soon. Now, one of the interesting things about the Konosuba TRPG is that there is an optional rule: the cheats. Cheats are exceptional abilities that allow you to cheat to break the rules of the game. These are the extraordinary features, qualities, skills of certain characters in the isekai genre. For example, in Konosuba, you have Darkness, that takes pleasure from the pain that she receives, and you have Megumin, that casts these incredibly powerful spells, this insanely damaging magical explosion, but she passes out after casting it once. You can create an adventurer just like those characters from the Konosuba series. This rulebook also contains a terminology section that serves as a glossary and a sort of dictionary if you are not familiar with some of the terms. Everything is well explained, but if you ever have some doubts or something is not very clear, you can come back to this section and then you can see that, oh, HP means hit points, MP means mind points or magic points, etc. It also contains information about the game world, such as the goddess Eris, the goddess of fortune, and the most widely revered deity in the isekai'd. The world's currency is also named after her. Or perhaps you don't know who the Axis disciples are, those who worship the goddess Aqua. Those outside their number think they are weirdos, and that it's best to avoid them. We will talk more about the setting in a future part of the review, where I cover the game world. Now let me give you an overview of character creation. You need characters to interact with the game world, of course. So you have data representing those personalities. First, you need to choose your race. Now, race is handled somewhat ambiguously because these aren't exactly different races. They are more like humans from different dimensions or even origins. You have the reincarnated person, one who has died on Earth and has been reborn into a new world by the power of a goddess. You also have the native inhabitant, who was born in the world of Konosuba and lives there. And then we have the Crimson Magic Clan members. These people possess incredible magical powers. Your race will decide certain external features about your character, as well as the abilities they had when they were born. Each race also has classes they are slightly better suited for. So when choosing a race, you should also think about what class you'd like to pick. If you, for example, create a member of the Crimson Magic Clan, it's a good idea to pick a class that wields magical powers. Now, when it comes to classes, you have 12 starting basic classes, and you have 4 other advanced classes. So although you can play as a warrior, as a priest, as a wizard, as you level up, you can be a member of different classes, but your attributes will change depending on your current class, but your skills will remain. So if you wanted to be a character that wields sword and magic, you can do that. It's going to take a bit of time as you level up, but it's possible. And there is also the adventurer class, which is a jack of all trades, master of none sort of character. You can wield magic, you can use the skills of thieves, of wizards, priests, rune knights, etc., lancers, knights. So you sacrifice specialization or focus in exchange for versatility or flexibility. Now, when it comes to ability scores, the different characters have different strengths and weaknesses. Some characters are strong, others are weak, some others are good with their hands, some others are clumsy. Ability scores represent these strengths and weaknesses. You have 7 ability scores: strength, dexterity, agility, intelligence, perception, mind, and luck, each of which has its own fixed value. Now, skills are really fun in this game. They feel more like special powers rather than skills. You have 3 categories: racial skills, class skills, and general skills. You can only choose skills from your own race and from your own class. But remember, as you level up, you could change classes, and therefore, you could gather a collection of skills from different classes to further customize your character. And when it comes to general skills, everyone can pick from those skills from that list. If you play as the adventurer class, you can even learn skills from monsters, from your enemies. Your player character will also be able to wear and wield armor, weapons, different pieces of equipment or items. You also need to determine your background. This includes details such as your name, your gender, your race, the appearance of the character, as well as the life path. And the life path is very fun in this role-playing game. Perhaps your character was visited by Truck-kun and you ended up in this world because of that. There are different origins, circumstances, and goals, and we will talk more about those in a future part of this review. Now, in this role-playing game, there are 2 ways to create your character. You could build a character from scratch using the construction method, that is, building or customizing everything about your character. But you could also use the quick start method by selecting one of the templates or halfway pre-generated characters included in this rulebook. you can get started right away. You will only need to complete a few finishing details. However, I recommend that you create your character from scratch because it's going to be very fun and exciting to create all sorts of wacky personalities in this game of Konosuba. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to take a closer look at the different character creation methods. I would advise that you prioritize comedy as you are creating these characters, and I would also recommend that you add the optional rule of cheat abilities, because you get into the spirit of Konosuba that way. Otherwise, it's going to be a somewhat lukewarm experience if you ask me. I really like those absurd and crazy situations within the stories of Konosuba, that is, the episodes of the anime, the chapters of the manga and the light novel. And even though if some situations end up a bit unbalanced because of the cheat abilities, that's part of the fun. And because this is a role-playing game that doesn't take itself too seriously, you could come up with all sorts of crazy and nonsensical excuses as to why this happened, or how the game master can introduce this adversary or some other challenge that still encourages the players to involve themselves in creative problem solving without relying on their cheats all the time. And besides, these cheats have a limit. You cannot use them all the time. So for example, in the case of the Megumin style of cheat, yes, you can cast this explosion, this incredibly powerful spell. You can also use it with healing spells. There's some flexibility or customization to that, but your character is going to pass out after that. Are you willing to take the risk of betting it all in a single attack or special effect just so that your character passes out and perhaps ends up eaten by monsters? So there is still some tactical consideration there. So thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.